3, 2. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Motion Design Hotline. We are back. We are back for season 3. Thank you all for coming and hanging out on here. We see a bunch of people hanging out in the chat already. Good to see my old partner Kyle back on back on the boards here. We got Patricia. Jeff is here. Good to see Bake Like a Pro from Ottawa hanging out, and Umacorn. Thanks for hanging out on a weekday. Usually hanging out on a weekend. But we are here. We're kicking it off with a guest this time. So we're going to be shifting to more guest-forward things because it's marginally easier to produce. And I like meeting new people and sharing the greatness that they bring to the world with you. So we have someone on today who's maybe one of the best to make lyric videos, the best in the game at that I've seen. Multi-Emmy Award winner. And she's taken time out of her busy day to come in and share some things with us. So Emonee LaRussa, motion designer extraordinaire, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming out.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, this is awesome. And people of the chat, if you have any questions for our guest here, do let us know in the chat. We'll filter them in, and we'll make that happen. But for people who maybe are not familiar with your work or don't know what you're about, maybe tell the folks, what the small amount of bio that they need to know. What do people need to know about you?
People need to know that I'm just a normal person. No, I'm the opposite.
I'm just a straight up normie hanging out.
Yeah. So I make music videos, specifically lyric videos. I have made videos for Kanye West, Lil Nas X, whole bunch of artists, you know.
You may have heard of some of them. Maybe you know about John Legend. I don't know.
Yeah, no, but mainly I just like making videos specifically surrounded by music. So the fact that I've had an opportunity to work with these artists that I have is just mind blowing. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I didn't realize this, but apparently I've been a fan of your work for a while. I just didn't correlate that it all belonged to you. So it was I think one of the first things I saw was some work that you did for one of the Weekends stuff.
Yeah.
So that psychedelic work in there that was great. And yeah, you do a lot of visualizer stuff as well that I think is really cool. So
yeah,
I did a little bit of lyric video work in my early days. So I have to say, I think that's motion design on hard mode. I think you've carved out a niche in what I think is one of the hardest spaces to do work in, right? And I don't know, I guess just to start off, what kind of drew you to doing lyric videos in the first place?
That's funny that you say that because I feel like I totally have the crutch of having music and using the beat of the song to just animate on top of that. I would say that my parents were always into music, and I think I've always just really been passionate about feeling the vibe and just feeling music, and I wanted to be able to recreate things that I love seeing. So I just loved music videos growing up, and I'm like, I want to be able to do that, but I only have myself to do it. So how do I do that? So I made my first lyric video for a Childish Gambino song, and I always try to stick with a literal sense of it because, or just the first idea that comes to my head, and I kind of just have built it off from there. It's been really great.
Oh, well, we've got someone in the chat who's only here for the Call of Duty content. So CJ in the chat would like to...
You can come get it.
Okay. Listen, we'll get into that later. We're jumping ahead, people. And just a reminder that this interview is going to be up for all time and all space. It's going to be saved here forever, unless we say something really, really spicy. Then we'll think about it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows? But it's really great. So when you're talking about thinking about the things that the lyrics are saying, kind of literally, right? That's maybe one of the reasons that I'm really drawn to kind of hip hop and rap music for lyric videos, because it's so lyrically dense, right?
Yeah.
And so I guess I'd love to know a little about your process of how do you break down tracks for lyric video? Where does it start? for you? Like, are you just listening to the song 1,000 times? Like, how do you tackle one of these projects?
Yeah, so like I said, like I really like feeling a song. And like even though a song it's just you're hearing it, you're not actually seeing it. I just love just like sitting and just listening to it on repeat. And I really love sitting in a car and doing it, but it's 150 degrees outside, so that's just not an option right now. But like just like the last video I did was the Ty Dolla Sign, Kanye West, FKA Twigs, and Skrillex video,
Hmm.
and I had just listened to that song at least like 20 times before I had even agreed to like be on the project because I want to feel invested in the song. And if I'm not getting visuals from it, it's really hard to like force myself to figure something out. And so, yeah, I just feel like getting really like passionate and like just sitting in it, like marinating in it, that's like the best way I've been able to just produce visuals for something that doesn't have visuals.
Yeah, I mean, I always struggled with like the instrumental parts. So if there's ever like, if there's a breakdown, if there is like a bridge, like
Yeah.
how, when there's text on screen, right? Like, of course, well, we're going to put the text on there, we're going to find something to do, but like, I don't know, like where do you go when you're trying to find something to fill in those non-textual areas? Like,
Yeah, so like I was saying, like the beat is almost like a crutch. Like even though there's no lyrics there, I will use the beat as like a visualizer. Like, have you ever like listened to a song and it's just like a guitar solo and you're like and you like mouth it like their lyrics? Like
mhm.
I try to, even though there's no lyrics there, I try to use the beat as like a form of lyrics. Like, oh, I'm gonna like every time the bass hits, I'm gonna like brighten up the stars or something. And like every time this instrument hits. So I tend to do that, especially for times when there's no lyrics and it's a freaking lyric video.
I think that's why I was always kind of put off whenever, I don't know, something like slower or acoustic or highly instrumental came my way. I was like, I know you want to
Yeah.
get a lyric video done, but what you really want is a visualizer, right? Like what you're
Yeah.
really after. Um, so it like, oh man, it's some of your work. I mean, I know your more popular stuff with the ego death things. One of my favorite ones that you've done is the Tory Lanez the Cry video that you did. Um,
Yeah.
that one is, if people have not seen it, I'm going to put a link in the chat so that people can enjoy it independently. But it's all set for those who haven't seen it. It's all set in the context of like someone's having an instant message chat, and that's where the lyrics go. I thought that was like this is the most brilliant use of this stuff that I've ever seen. And it just like it flows so nicely, like all the little pop-ups and stuff. Like it's really great. How did this kind of aesthetic come to you with this?
So when they had their management had reached out to me, they had specifically asked for like 2000s, like 90s vibes. And I'm like, okay. They had like the idea of like an iPod, like some sort of instant messenger, and I think there was like a sidekick, even though that's later, but
Yep.
like later in the era. But I was already like super involved in another music video that wanted like a computer-esque a vibe. And so I had done all this research for that project that I was able to, all the things that I didn't use for that, I was able to use for this project. And it's such like a throwback. Like I wanted people to watch it and be like, "Damn, I hella remember like clicking here and like
Hmm.
all these different like the fonts and stuff, and like even like the colors are the kind of like muted. Like I feel like now like on computers like the colors are all vibrant and bright, and like back then it was just like you get what you get. You get the basic color palette."
We only have 32 colors. Look, they didn't invent the other 64 colors until later. They just didn't have them.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it also like it looks like a CRT monitor. Like it's got so much of the feel that's great. And one of the
Aaron, actually, sorry to interrupt. Aaron, he was my designer for this. He's all the way in Ireland, and shout out to Aaron. He's literally like just knocked it out of the park with creating the designs for this. And like he's just. I just had to shout him out. He's just so good.
Yeah, so we'll get into that a little bit later because, you know, your work is not just a singular effort, right? Like you've got a team of people often. Like you're directing. You are CEO and founder of a. I mean, we would say like a global kind of studio. I don't know. How do you I don't know. How do you explain or how do you categorize this entity that you've made?
Yeah, it's super crazy. I have full belief in the internet gods. My faith is with them. And it is so crazy. I am able to find these artists through Instagram just through simple hashtags where I'll look through frame by frame animation or graphic designer or illustrator, and I'll just scour all these different posts and then I'll find an artist and I'm like, oh my God, I love your stuff. Can we work together? I have a project coming up, or can we collab? And that's kind of just how it works. And over time, I just accumulate all these different contacts with all these different artists. And then I start working on a project and I realize that I'm working with people literally all over the world. Like, it's insane.
Yeah,
I love it.
Well, and it's incredibly impressive. Like to try to coordinate across time zones, I find is, I don't know. I have a lot of trust issues. This is why I don't hire a lot of people. So, like, how do you keep a project organized when you might have like 7, like 8, 10 people doing different disparate scenes all the time?
I have so many post-it notes. I'm glad you can't see in this direction because it's just covered in post-it notes. But I am a very like, I need to write it down or I'll forget. And so I just keep everything because for these projects, I'm producing, directing, and animating. Like I don't have like an assistant that's doing all the emails and paperwork, even though I would love one. And if you know of someone,
right,
please let them know.
People in the chat, if you are looking for a role as a PA, it's time to.
But
I mean,
yeah,
that's like
just,
I don't know, when it comes to organizing, right? Like you're saying you do it all in like a lot of paper and stuff. Like, are there any like apps or anything that you're using to keep this stuff straight? Are you using like frame.io or anything?
Yeah, my financial advisor hates it that I only am using, I just use paper. And he's like, I need you to keep track of things. And I'm like, it's the paper's right here. Like, I just trust the paper. But mainly, like, I just like the physical, like, form of like documentation, like for script breakdowns or shot list breakdowns. Like for the last video, there were so many different elements to it. I needed to know like every single shot, like the seconds that it took, and then I needed to mark when it was done. And so I had like 4 forms of this shot list breakdown, and it just seems like if someone were to walk in, they'd be like, this is a new episode of Hoarders, and we need to clean this place out.
Yeah, it's intervention time.
Yeah.
We've arrived. We've got our U-Haul outside. We're going to put some stuff in there.
Yeah, I'm the only person that's keeping the ink industry in business right now.
I knew someone was doing it. It had to be somebody. I mean, the reverse angle for me used to be a bunch of clipboards that I kept on the wall, right? I used to be big into this, like, I know, I'm going to physically put it here. If it's physical, I can touch the thing. I know whatever 10 projects I'm working on at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's, I don't know, those physical reminders, so helpful. I'm
totally.
glad I'm not alone in that obsession with physical objects.
Definitely not.
Whew, good. Now I know we're talking about breakdowns. We're talking about AV scripts. There was a question earlier asking about kind of workflow. So I'd love to because I know there are a lot of people here who maybe don't go through these kinds of processes. I'd love it if you could just kind of talk us through sort of how the process goes, what phases a project might go through, sort of like from beginning to sort of, you know, where it ends up in the end. Because I think for a lot of people, it's a bit of a mystery.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. So, the pre-production side is very like I need to be in contact with every single artist that I plan to bring on board for this project. And like how you're saying earlier, just like talking with, like trusting these people. I like to have like over like video chat, like conversations like, hey, this is what is kind of laid out. I want to be able to like accurately give them all the details that they need to know before moving forward, just so I can get an accurate budget for the management, and so that they know what they're doing moving forward. And so when it goes to when it comes from management, they usually either don't have an idea, or they like have a very vague idea. I love just any sort of direction at all. But there are times where they don't have any direction and you just kind of have to come up with an idea and hopefully they like it. And even if they like it, the artist may not like it. And so it's all just like this, do you like this one? Do you like this one? And you have to be able to tell these people, hey, invest in me for this imaginary thing because this doesn't exist yet, but this is what I plan on making for you. And I try my absolute hardest to make like a paper form of what they're going to end up getting. Like, I don't want to lead them in a direction where they're like, wait, you made it seem like it was going to look like this and it looks nothing like this. So just being complete, like having that line of communication is so important with management, because if you convince them that you're going to make this like super amazing piece and then you don't deliver, then you don't have work again. But
it's that kind of like trying to envision something in the future that doesn't exist yet, but we have to trust that we're going to get there. Like,
yes.
are you sending them like pitch decks? Like what kind of objects do you send to them to kind of build that trust in the vision?
Yeah, so I send them treatments, and what kind of it's like if like this may not happen, this may happen, so you kind of have to go out on a limb and make the best thing possible, because you could potentially not get paid for making this treatment, even though you spent like a week working on it. But you try to create this like idea that, okay, here's the concept. Here is some art direction on how it's going to end up looking. Here's the storyboards. This is how it's going to play out. And here's like the storyline, color palettes, and so on. And you just try to make it, you don't want to like make it look like a PowerPoint. You want to make it look like a PowerPoint on crack. Like, and like I've made a few treatments that I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then they're like, yeah, we're just going to go in a different direction. And it's like, oh, okay. But it's not like, okay, I suck. I'm never going to be able to make this idea. You put it in your pocket and you keep it for another artist, because you never know, like if a bigger artist later on is going to be like, I want a similar idea. And then you're like, oh, I already have this nicely created treatment. I'll just change some names and poop it out.
Look, we're all trying to just poop out pitches for people. That's how it goes.
All the time. That's all I do.
Well, I was going to say, if you have any treatments that we could have a peruse of, that'd be great, or
yes.
some things.
I have some. Let me show you. So I feel like I could show you guys these treatments because they like have already been passed and good, but they actually have never seen the light of day. So let me show you. Okay.
Let's see.
So this here, let me try to. This was the Christina Aguilera video. It was for Pride Month, and we were able to create this concept, and we just try to implement like the art direction throughout the entire treatment. Because like I said, you don't want to make it look like a PowerPoint. Like you don't want it to be like white background, text, and some photos. And then here is the art direction. These illustrations were created by Kevin. I forgot his last name because I am an asshole. And here are the color palettes, and this is a storyboard. He's so talented. He created these illustrations, and is basically just going to be a story of like how gay people have overcome since the time that the original song Beautiful came out in 2002. And so now we're seeing couples like expressing their love, and then like raising like the gay flags, and like we go through different flags, like the trans flag, bi flag, and then like the empowerment, like embracing who they are and what they look like, and then like eventually just like getting married and showing all these different couples of different colors, different sizes, different ethnicities, backgrounds, cultures, and then finally like everyone coming together for Pride Month in the end. That was a super fun treatment. And then this one was Rodeo. We weren't able to make this video, but I really love the treatment on it. The 3D was made by Andre, and don't ask me his last name because I don't know it.
See previous comment.
Okay, how about I'm going to tag everybody who I'm talking about in here because I don't do a good justice for them. But they're all freaking phenomenal. So this was his idea, was to create like these 3D objects. This was a reference video that we were like, okay, this is how we're going to implement some of the text and these 3D objects and the lyric video or the lyrics. And then, so they were like, can you make us a second idea? And so we did. This one took more of like a, like frame by frame, like character design on it. This was also created by different designers. I grabbed some of their work for references, like, hey, this is what they've created in the past, and this is kind of the direction that we're going to go into. And then these were the rough sketches that we came up with. And then this was kind of like the idea. We just want to give them like a final of like, hey, this is where we're going. And this is a very rough sketch of what we intend to do with it. So it's all just like, just trying to convince them. Just try to invest in me, like an episode of Shark Tank. I can make you more money. Just invest in me.
Yeah, it's an interesting, man. It's so, because you're going to be dealing with people like when you're pitching, right? Who's this going to? This is going to maybe like what would they be like? More management level people, like people who are more concerned with, I don't know, less visual people, we might say, right?
Yeah. So it goes to management, and they're like, this is good, or this is not what we wanted. And then they give that to the artist. And sometimes I would assume that it goes, like we get feedback from like artists, like the last piece, with Kanye, he was like, oh, this reminds me of like the Boondocks, like very creative. And like for Lil Nas X, when we made the Panini video, when we were working on it, we sent over the treatments, and he was just like, love it, funny. And so like it goes for management. They just kind of, I feel like they handle more of the paperwork element side and making sure that it gets to the creative people, which is the artist. And then from there, it kind of just comes right back to us. So we're kind of like the middleman of the middleman. I don't get everyone thinks that like I'm like hanging out with these artists, like they have no clue who I am. They're like they think that these videos probably come from heaven and they're like, oh, there he is. But it's a person making it.
No. In classic narcissist fashion, most people believe it came from their own head.
I made that.
You made that? I made that.
Yeah.
It's quality memes, folks. It's true. You wouldn't make it into a meme if it didn't happen. Oh,
right.
Man. Well, it's so interesting. Like when I was making lyric videos, it was mostly for people who were like independent, right? They didn't have management. They were not signed, which unfortunately also means not a lot of money. Which made it fairly insustainable. So I'm wondering if we could go back in time a little bit. We're traveling back in time. So we've now arrived earlier on in your career. How did you sort of make that transition to sort of making this your like regular specialty? Like what was that journey like?
Yeah, so I was going to school, and I had learned very quickly that I was going to start doing motion graphics, just because like I was facing a lot of like discrimination at my school and people weren't taking me seriously as a cinematographer because I wanted to go to film school for cinematography at first, and I had knew motion graphics before going to school and just through YouTube. But over time, I started realizing that no one wanted me on their set and no one wanted this girl who wore dresses because they thought it was unprofessional. And even though I was like acing all of my classes and working an actual cinematography job outside of school, I just wasn't respected. And so I was like, okay, I can't be a cinematographer if I don't have people on my set or if people don't want me on their set. So I need to do something that allows me to give my cinematography eye and incorporate it to where I can do it by myself. And also you don't see the face of the artist, so it's like you can't really judge me if you never see me. And I from there just started making videos outside of school. And like my first lyric video, the Childish Gambino video, was in 2014, I think. And I got like a whole bunch of feedback from people who were like, this is amazing. And I was like, what? You think this is amazing? Like, I have so many other ideas to show you guys. And so I just would make another video and I would make another video and they would all be fan videos. Like at that point, I wasn't getting paid to make lyric videos. And I had realized that up until 2017 was like the first time I really got reached out by an artist. And it was the internet. And I love the internet and they're amazing. And they took a chance on me and they're just super awesome. But I made them, they recently went on tour and I was like, oh, I want to make like a tour video for them. And at that time I was working at CBS News 40 hours a week. And the art that I was making was outside of my 40-hour-week job. So I was working like 20 hours a week on top of the 40-hour-week job, just trying to make new things, trying to learn new things on YouTube tutorials. And I made this little tour day thing and they saw it and they retweeted it. And one of my friends, Alante, he was like, y'all should hire her. And they were like on it. And I was like, what? My favorite band just like responded to me. And from there, like I just started making graphics for artists. Like they made it seem like it could be possible to make art for artists, like artists that I love. And I just started making more. I'm like, okay, if I got my foot in the door just by making this one little graphic, what could I do if I spent like more time making this one little graphic for this artist or this one little graphic for this artist? And so it wasn't like this thing of like I'm making free work, like I'm not getting paid for it, because in the end I got paid for it by like getting my foot in the door. And so I would say that the biggest way that I was able to now have a studio where I hire graphic artists and I make like lyric videos, like official lyric videos for these big artists, it's the only way I've been able to do that is just by trying to create new content, free content for these big artists, and hoping that one of them, the internet gods, would lead them to their front door and they would be able to see it.
Oh man, that's one of those wonderful success stories, that's
Yeah.
it's one of the things I think that is maybe underappreciated maybe by folks. Like a lot of people ask me, I want to work in X field. Like I want to work in video games. I want to work in
Yeah.
esports, right? Like, well, your portfolio does not have a lot of esports material in it.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
it's difficult to, like you were saying, make the case to invest in you to do the thing. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
I don't know, it's a kind of like I don't know, like a chicken and the egg thing sometimes, right? Sometimes you got to do it before you can do it. It's wild.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have some folks in the chat. They had some quandaries around sort of, they're talking about workflow. They're asking about clients. Hopefully we help them out with that client idea. I would like to know. I know you've done a lot of work for people, currently, and we now know that the internet is your favorite band. But if you had to choose,
I have it in my diary, so it's official.
if it's in the diary, it's official.
Yeah.
I'd love to know, like, good people of the chat, bring us all of your questions. We want all of those.
Bring them.
But for now, I want to know, is there an artist out there, if we can put something out into the universe, is there an artist you want to work with next?
My all-time like artist that I would love to work with, I have two.
Okay.
One is super unrealistic, and the other one I feel like I could do it if I just get there. My realistic one and really hard one, Kendrick Lamar. I want to make graphics for him so bad. He's like my like artist of the decade. Like, when Spotify is like, you've listened to this artist for like a whole bunch of time. Like that was like Kendrick Lamar. And my unrealistic artist that I feel like hopefully happens, but probably never will, Frank Ocean.
Really? Okay.
Yes. He's just so quiet and sheltered, and no one can reach him, and he lives like on another planet, and like I just want to make graphics for him so bad. Like that is like goals. So hopefully putting it out in the universe.
Yeah. This is how we do it, we're going to maybe someone here knows Frank Ocean's aunt or whatever, and they can make this happen.
I believe in the internet gods. They have yet to fail me now.
It's true. Well, if we don't have the goals, we'll never get to them, right? Like if we don't enunciate these things, like, look, I have very banal goals in my life, so I don't. I have very low goals, so mine are like, I'd like to do more corporate video, I guess. I don't know. And wouldn't you know it, those dreams come true all the time. I think small, and smallness becomes. So it's great. Well, some folks were asking. We have a specific question from CJ in the chat about specifically getting paid. Which, as you know, one of our favorite topics to talk about, getting paid. We constantly talk about stacking paper, and I guess apparently keeping the paper industry afloat. It's the other thing we're doing. But they want to know, how do you set up payment schedules? Have you ever had clients like refuse or renegotiate payments? Like when you're on a project, I guess maybe we should back up on that. How long does it actually take when production is happening? Like, I think because you have a YouTube channel and you were talking about for the Kanye West thing, was it like 2 weeks to deliver?
Yeah, but they're on it. Like they paid me before we even started working on it.
Cash up front.
Which I'm sad to say rarely happens. I think that's the first project this entire year that I was paid before we actually started working on it. Just to put in perspective, I have 7 projects right now. that are about 4 months not paid yet. Like
Okay.
it's been 4 months. And it's just like when I first got into it, they're like, oh, we're going to pay you like $1,500 to do this video. And I'm like, oh my God, I got $1,500. And then I would go and I'm like, don't worry about it, babe. Dinner's on me. And then I realized that I'm stacking up $1,500 on my credit card and
Oof.
I am not getting paid until months later. So this idea of like, oh, well, they have to pay you. Like, just don't count your eggs. Like it's
Yeah.
just like you if they say that you're going to get paid, you're going to get paid. At the end of the day, you will get paid. Will you get paid when you want to? Probably not. But like it's just almost like a little present. You ever like get drunk and like buy something on Amazon and then you like get it later and you're like, "Oh, I totally forgot that I got that." It's kind
Oh,
of like that.
man. So, like I said, I do more corporate stuff, right? And in the corporate world, it's not unheard of to get like net 90 type payments.
Mhm.
So the job's completed.
Yes.
Now we sent the invoice, and now 90 days later, this will show up. Oh, but we didn't process your invoice. So it's actually like net 120, really? Oopsie
Mhm.
doodle. And then, yeah, it's kind of like because that, like, oh, well, I really thought that check was going to come in. So I start hustling, taking on more jobs, and
Yep.
I end up, I make all my mortgage payment. It's fine. The bank is not
Mhm.
coming after us. But then, several months down the road, this mysterious check arrives,
Yep.
and
It's like it doesn't hurt to do a little helpful reminder. And even though it's about money and it's kind of serious, I'm always kind of like nice about it because like if they think that I'm mean, maybe they'll pay me a little later. Like maybe if I'm nice, then they'll pay me when they should have. But
mm,
I've had artists that like I had an artist that I was working with, really big name, that did not pay me for like half a year.
hmm,
And it was just, hey, how's it going? Was looking for that payment. It's about Christmas time and haven't seen it. And they're like, oh, well, we're working on it. And then like months had passed and I'm like, just checking on it. And they're like, wait, we didn't already pay you? And I'm like, no,
nope.
think you would have known that,
Yeah.
but it just happens. And I think like what I have started doing now, working with these different artists that I'm bringing on, is if I could pay them, I'll pay them.
Mhm.
If I have the money in my account, I'll pay them and I'll just wait that time because I know how difficult it is to be a smaller artist and expect this payment and it's not coming. So
Mhm.
like it's just I feel like in this industry, I don't know how it is for like the commercial industry, they give you net 30s, net 60s where they're straightforward, okay, you're going to get it within this time. With like the music industry, it's kind of like, well, we sent your invoice then, so you get it when you get it.
Hey, it happens when it happens. Oh boy.
Yeah, yeah. But
Oh,
like I said, don't count your eggs because it definitely like especially in this industry. I don't know how it is in other industries, but it also teaches you how to finance your money really well. Like
mhm.
making sure that you're staying on task with, okay, this is how much money I am taking in. This is the money that I'm waiting on. Can I buy this computer right now or should I wait a little bit of time? So it's all just you become a like accountant after.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Like I mean, a lot of people in the chat are also feeling this pain. It's pretty common. So everyone out there, you're not alone.
Yeah.
This is kind of normal, especially in a lot of creative fields. I've found like that. It's just I don't know. We really get the short end of it. But hey, I mean, kudos to you for paying people quick. I've noticed that like artists pay artists fast because we know what it
Yeah.
feels like, right? It's
Yeah.
you gotta get that going. So it's I don't know. A lot of people in the chat seem to have those trubs. Let's see if there's any other quandaries we can get into to help people out here.
Quandaries. I like that
See
word. Quandaries.
quandaries. I look. This is why I'm listening to a lot of very verbose, like four syllable stuff. Okay,
I love it.
we've got let's see how to pronounce. Oh, again, we talked about this before. I'm bad at names, but I think it's AUJ Auge, maybe. Hopefully, I said that right. I don't know. They're asking what computer and programs do you use. So what's your hardware situation? What's your software situation like? We know a little bit of After Effects going on, but I saw you posting some 3D stuff on your Instagram most recently.
Yeah, so I have a 2019 i9 iMac. It has a terabyte SSD, has 64 gigs RAM. So far I haven't like run into any issues, but I'm just gonna say this. I had my 2012 laptop with a 500 gig SSD and 16 gigs of RAM, and that got me through my college years and years after. It wasn't until last year that I got this computer. So like I was able to make 2 films, literally every other lyric video that I worked on outside of what's happened this year on that laptop. So it's my ride or die. That's why I have it tattooed on me. Cause yeah, it's my baby. She got me through it.
Oh man, I you know what? I had a similar relationship with one of my early computers. It might have been.
Yeah.
It was a Mac PowerBook. It burned. I don't have a tattoo because it has literally burned my legs one time. So that's my relationship with the computer. It was really sad when it had to go. But you know, Godspeed.
I want to get like RIP underneath it and like the spinning ball of death inside of it.
Yes.
It has passed.
It's moved on. Oh man. Moved on. Yeah, I don't think people don't have enough tattoos commemorating their hardware.
No, I was looking for like laptop tattoos, like as a reference, and I couldn't find a single one. And I was like, not enough people love their laptop like I do.
That's right. Well, I mean, people get an interesting relationship. I found people have an interesting relationship with their software, at least, because people with really strong sort of 3D opinions. Yes. Are you using Cinema 4D? What was that tennis racket situation made in?
Yes. So I use Adobe After Effects, Illustrator, Photoshop, and Cinema 4D. And sadly, this year, I've just been so busy that I haven't been able to focus more time on my Cinema 4D. But I had listened to the album by Emonee, and I was like, oh, I have an idea. I need to let me just do it. And I was able to do that. Really, it's kind of like a trick that I figured out. So there's this plugin I think it's called CS Smart Art. Okay. And it turns Illustrator files into Cinema 4D models. So I created, I could actually show you. Can I show you it?
Oh, maybe. Sure. Let's.
Okay.
Yeah, you fire up your screen. I'm going to Google really quick to see if I can find.
I know, because I could have said it wrong, but I at least can show you.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy. So let me make sure. Boop. Share my screen. Boop. There it is. Okay. Can you see it?
Let's see here. All right, looking good in the Skype. Here we go. Now we'll throw to it. Yeah, we got this tennis racket going on. We're in.
Yes. So this is the tennis racket that I created in Illustrator, and then in Cinema 4D.
I'd like to know why you took my mom's tennis racket, but we'll get into that later.
It's because it was the specific one that was in the music video that I was like trying to like reference. So I had to
such a good video too. Like there's a lot of that video is like, these are all clothes I probably own.
Yeah. So, okay, I did this a really weird way, and I feel like you shouldn't do it this way, but I'm going to show you how I did it. So basically, I was able to turn the Illustrator file into this 3D object, and I used this plugin called CV Art Smart. I butchered that completely. I said CVS. And then
You go down to
you go
CVS.
to you go down to CVS, and then you get this 3D model.
Yep.
Um, so I could kind of show you. These are all the balls that dropped in. Let's see. Boop, boop, boop. So it opens this little panel up, and you can just import your Illustrator file. Boop, boop. Right here, and it turns it into a 3D model, and you could like take the depth away, but it's really cool because all this time that I would have spent creating this model in Cinema 4D, I did it in like 2 seconds. So I was able to knock that one out pretty quickly.
Damn, these are some life hacks. This is great.
I know. I know.
It's
the more you know.
Yeah. Well, it's look, I'm fairly new to 3D stuff. My modeling is bad. Unwrapping CVs also bad. So it's a lot of primitives. It's a lot of making pachinko machines. But I don't know.
Yeah.
There's something really satisfying about 3D, right? Like,
I
don't know.
I love it.
I don't know.
I want to spend more time like just learning the ins and outs because it looks really daunting. Like there's just a lot of like unknown features because through After Effects, Photoshop, Illustrator, there's kind of native things throughout each of the programs. And you're like, oh, that's what an anchor point is in all of these different programs. But like in here, it's like trying to learn from nothing. And so definitely YouTube tutorials have saved my entire life. Seriously.
Well, I mean, there's so many great things out there on the internet. Speaking of great things on the internet, though,
Yes.
you also have YouTube channel that I'm going to recommend good people of the internet who are watching this currently. If you're not currently following Emonee on the internets, you need to check this out. I'm going to drop it in the chat here. Let's go YouTube/ and then I'll just Google it. You know, it would have been good if I had Googled this beforehand. That would have been the pro move.
We have time. We have all the time in the world.
Well, we got some time. I don't know. But most recently, you've got a tutorial, you've got a series about the ego death, some of the finer points in there that were great. And most recently, since you hit 7K followers? What are they called on Instagram?
Followers on Instagram.
Okay.
I wish they were subscribers, but not yet. One day.
Yeah, but showing the breakdown of that graphic, I thought was so good. Like, it's I don't know, for 6 minutes, there's so many. Well, I mean, 5:46, and there's so many good little things in there that I think demystifies a lot of a process that people like is like a mystery box to a lot not people. Yeah. So you nailed it on that. So just
thank you. I feel like it's not talked about, and it's kind of like the film industry, how they come up with all these different words. So like if you're in, but like if you're not in, like they try to make you feel stupid. Like, oh, you don't know what a stinger is? Like it's kind of like that, where they're like, oh, make a treatment, and you're like, what the fuck is a treatment? Like I've never even seen one before.
These are special codes.
Here's the special codes, and you have to figure it out and do it perfect. And just over time, I've learned how to make something that looks good, that people are going to want to invest in. I feel like there's so much creativity that goes into it, and no one ever sees them. Like no one ever sees a treatment, but I like doing them.
Yeah, that's the work of the work, right? Like all of the things that are, all the ideas that are discarded, all of the aesthetics we don't go down. Like, I don't know. I say this to people all the time. Like, if that's not the work you love, then this might not be the career, right? Like,
yeah. It's like this. You're gambling. You're investing all of this time into this treatment, and they could potentially just say, "No, we're going to go in a different direction," and then this time that you could have spent making something else, you didn't. But it's also like you have to invest in yourself. Like you can't constantly expect people to give you stuff when you never give yourself stuff. So treat
Love
yourself.
it. Treat yourself. Always. I think it's interesting, like every treatment, every attempt is a learning opportunity, right? Like your skills are growing every time you're trying something new.
Yeah.
Something I wanted to ask while you're here, about kind of, and people were asking in the chat as well, like what kind of things inspire you, either aesthetically or technically? Like what kind of drives you to explore new things in this space?
I am 100%, well, not 100%, mostly percent, inspired by other artists. Like seeing like all these different studios come up with like these different projects or freelancers, and like I constantly look at other people's work. And I mean, obviously, like music is such a huge inspiration, but I feel like it's like this unspoken thing that like you have to come up with this idea and it has to be completely original or else like you're not an artist. And like it's like trying to create a chair that's already a chair. Like, yes, you created a brand new chair, but it's still a chair. So like get inspiration from other people who've made successful chairs. And like it's this unconscious inspiration. Like I don't go and find artists and then I'm like, okay, they did this and I'm going to do the same exact thing. It's like, wow, I'm unconsciously taking in all this information and I'm going to create new things. And like, there's so much different art out there that like, it doesn't necessarily have to be the stuff that you're creating. Like, it doesn't have to be like, for me, like, it doesn't have to be motion graphics artists. It could be like graffiti artists. It could be chefs. It could be like literally any form of art I feel like I'm inspired by. And I feel like if people took like me, I've had to learn this. I don't feel like it's bad to be on social media. Like I don't feel like it's bad to be on Instagram. If you want to spend that time and spend like 30 minutes a day just looking at all these different artists' work, like you would be surprised. Like I didn't even know it'd be possible to make something like this. And then you see that like your limitations of what you have, because everyone has like artist restraints. Like everyone has like this, I've only seen this many things, so this is all I know. And if you just expose yourself to all these different forms of art, I feel like that's how I've been able to really grab inspiration. I give my like credit and all my talent from other people. Like YouTube, I don't think I would be where I am today without people making YouTube tutorials and teaching me, because my school did a really shitty job of doing that. And I paid $100,000 to go there. So yeah.
That's right. We're here to dunk on formal education really hard.
No film school. Let's go.
Well, they're old. We can probably beat them up. So
yeah.
That's the idea. Well, I love that analogy about the chair, though. Like, you don't have to make a chair out of nothing. Just look at another chair. It's so good.
Like you could make a new chair, but like don't try to act like that's not a chair. Like right. I feel like I recently saw an artist that has this idea that like, oh, everything that people make that are similar to mine are stole. They stole that from me.
Right.
And I feel like
I own that aesthetic. That's mine.
Yes. Yeah. And it's like nothing is yours because it was never yours to begin with. And like, why not share your art? Why not share? Like, I feel like it's like, why take all your money to the grave when like you're going to be dead anyways? Like, why not just share the wealth? Artists post all the time, and you should like want to inspire other artists and get inspiration from other artists. And it's all just, we're all in this together. Kumbaya.
I would love it if like Picasso came back from the grave and he was like, what are you doing? Is it cubism? That's mine. I do cubism.
How dare you?
Yeah.
I'm the only person that can make that.
Yeah, I mean, we also know that Picasso was an absolute clown, so he would come and fight someone for doing cubism. We know it. We know he would do that. But that's like, I'm so happy to hear other people think this way. That like so much of what we produce is a synthesis of all of our inspirations that have led us to this point, and then other people's will be a synthesis of the things that have led them to that point. And it's very strange when we try to have ownership of a thing, and especially something so ephemeral as aesthetic, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. If I know that we get into a lot of like copyright and stuff like, and usually with music, right? Maybe we hear this most with music, where someone will release a song, someone else will sample the song, and now they're going to sue each other about using that, you know, what core component of the song can be protected legally or ethically, you know, like, I don't know.
I feel like there is a difference between like straight up copying somebody. Like the other day, someone copied my treatment for ego death, and like just straight up like did the same thing. And it was like, you could totally use that aesthetic and style, but like, why not make your own thing? Like, you could like, it was like straight up a copy of it. And like, there's like this line of like, all right, well, that's plagiarism. But like
if they haven't added to it, right? If they haven't said something different, then it's copying or lifting or biting of rhymes. All of these crimes. But
it is okay to be inspired by other artists. It is okay to like get inspiration on different styles. Like, you don't have to fit in this box of like, well, this is all that I thought of, so this is all that I can create. Like, people make art, just take it all in. Love it.
Awesome. Well, hey, I think that's probably. I mean, we're at 5:00 here on Easter time, so we should probably let you get on with the rest of your stuff. This is the best note to end on, I think, for people as well. So it's hopefully inspiring to people. So I want to thank you so much for coming on and hanging out with me. This was a lot of fun.
I know.
And it's I mean, it's so great when you see someone's work online and then you get to hang out with them and they're just as cool as you imagined. So that's.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Well, you know, it's true. Before you go, though, I would love it if you could tell the good people where they can find more of you on the internet. Tell them about all your social media channels, projects you've got coming up. This is the plugging portion of the show. Yes.
Okay, so I have a funky name. It's Emonee. It's EM0N33Y, and you could find me on all platforms: Instagram, Twitter, Reddit. I just recently made a YouTube channel, and I want to make tutorials. So if you guys subscribe and if I get likes and views, I would be able to do this more often. And yeah, I try to create new content. And if you guys ever have like questions on After Effects where you're like, I don't get this, I try my hardest to get to everybody and be a teacher that I wish I had. So
oh, that's as good as we can hope for, right? Try to be the teachers we didn't have. That's
yes.
Oh man. Well, hey, thank you so much again for coming out.
Thank you.
And like we said, if you all look down at the bottom of the frame, you'll see where to go at EM0N33Y. One last thing, if people do want to challenge you in Call of Duty. Is it the same? Is it the same handle?
1v1v. No, it's not the same. Actually, my PSN is your mom loves my taco. So if you guys want to 1v1 me, y'all can get it.
That's right. Show up, get served, enjoy. I play Fall Guys. I'm a big squishy guy. I can't hang with first-person shooters. That's not for me.
I still have yet to play that.
It's too intense. It's too intense. But this conversation has been chill, not intense at all. But and again, thank you so much to all the people of the chat. We are going to be back with more episodes of this probably next week. I don't really know what's happening next week, so we'll find out. But make sure you come back. Make sure you subscribe. And follow the links. Go to all the places. And we will see you all next time. Thanks again. And bye for now.